Hi everybody, my name is Professor Doug MacDonald. I am an archaeologist at the University of Montana, and you are taking the Archaeology of Yellowstone, Anthropology 150. This is the online section. I have an office in the Social Science Building if you're on campus. This is room 203. My office hours are Monday and Wednesday from 9 to 11:50. If you're taking this completely online and you're not on campus, just email me at this address, douglas.macdonald@umontana.edu, and we can arrange a Zoom call. I've been operating the Montana Yellowstone Archaeological Project in Yellowstone National Park since 2007. This summer is our 20th year, and I've been fortunate enough to take students out there all 20 of those years since I've been a professor here at the University of Montana. I got my graduate degrees, masters and PhDs at Washington State University in Pullman, Washington, not too far away, but I originally grew up on the East Coast and specifically in the state of Maine. But I've been living out here for quite a while now, and I consider myself a Montanan. Both my kids live here in Missoula, all grown up. My son graduated from the University of Montana a couple of years ago, and my daughter graduated from Montana State University several years ago as well. So very familiar with Montana. I've been living here for 20 years, 21 years as I've said, and been really enjoying the archaeology of Yellowstone, and so this class is all about that topic. If you go onto Canvas, this is going to be the heart of the class, and you will find this syllabus. This is the fall 2026 syllabus, and you can look at the course description and learning outcomes. There's 6 sections of the class that I'll talk about in today's introductory lecture. All the course requirements are on the syllabus, and then each of the sections has a module on Canvas. So if you haven't ever used Canvas before, the 6 sections of the class are organized into 6 modules. And so each of the modules has a quiz and a test, and then there's a final exam at the end, and I'll go over those assignments. But this syllabus, I would go to the Canvas website for the class, and you can download it and have it. So there are 2 required textbooks for the class, one of which you have to purchase. That's a book called Before Yellowstone, which I wrote in 2018. I base a lot of the lecture material on the material from the Before Yellowstone book and vice versa. Actually, I wrote the Before Yellowstone book based on my lecture notes from your class that you're taking now over the years. So you can buy this as a textbook from the University of Montana bookstore, or you can get a Kindle version on Amazon for quite inexpensive. The first chapter of the book I've posted on Canvas as a PDF for you. I know some students take a while to get financial aid and they wait to buy their books, so I have posted chapter 1. This is the required reading for section 1. I've also posted the initial readings for American Indians in Yellowstone National Park. That's AIYNP, abbreviated on the syllabus. This is a required textbook that talks about all the Native American tribes that have lived in Yellowstone National Park and that still think of Yellowstone National Park as part of their traditional territories. This was written by Peter Nabokov and Larry Lohendorf years and years ago, but it's still very relevant today. That is a free PDF, and I want you to download that and start to read that. I'll also occasionally post PDF readings on Canvas. For example, in section 1, there was an article written in Smithsonian Magazine about our Yellowstone project, and it was a good article, and I was extensively quoted, and they visited our field teams in Yellowstone, and so I'm asking you to read that article as well. So what is the Archaeology of Yellowstone? There's 6 class sections, as I said. Each one has a module on Canvas. The first section that we're going to do is all about the background, and there'll be several video lectures for you to watch about the background. This is relating to basically what is Yellowstone. What's the geography like? What's the flora? What are the plants? What are the animals? What's the geology? And then I'll also give you introductory concepts on archaeology, assuming that none of you have taken classes in archaeology before. Then it subsequently follows 5 additional sections, each of which has a module on Canvas. Of course, we will start with section 1, move on to section 2, Native Americans of Yellowstone. Section 3 will focus on Native American use of stone sources to make their tools. Section 4 will be all about Yellowstone Lake and the many rivers of Yellowstone. Section 5 will be all about Yellowstone's mountains and thermal features and how Native Americans use them in their day-to-day lives. And Section 6 is a section called War for Yellowstone, brings us up to the historic period, especially focusing on the Nez Perce flight through Yellowstone in 1877. So in terms of the course requirements, the due deadlines are on the syllabus. They're also posted in the weekly module, so I'm not going to talk specifically about due dates in this, but I will tell you the generalities of what is required of you in terms of the course requirements. There are 5 50-point tests. There's one test for each of the 5 class sections. Each of those tests is 50 points, totaling 250 points. These tests are taken on Canvas. During finals week, there is also a final exam which covers all of the course material up through the sections 1 through 5, as well as is the test for section 6, War for Yellowstone. This is an online final exam on Canvas as well. And then additionally, there are 5 10-point movie quizzes, one during each class section. You can watch them and take the quizzes. Those are due on Fridays. Watch the movies on Canvas and then take the online quiz. Those are add up to about 50 points over the semester. Based on the 5 50-point tests, the final exam, and the 5 10-point movie quizzes, that adds up to 400 total points that you can accumulate in the class, and your grade is a straight percentage of that 400. So, for example, if you have 360 points, that is an A-. Canvas is the heart of the class, where we use Canvas for tests, quizzes, movies, lectures, the weekly schedule, lecture notes, the gradebook, etc. Everything will be on Canvas. If you are not familiar with Canvas, I recommend that you start to familiarize yourself with this online tool that the University of Montana uses for all of its online classes. So our Canvas course, Archaeology of Yellowstone, is organized as follows. There are 6 modules in Canvas, one for each section of the course. Each section lasts approximately 2 to 3 weeks. Each section module has quizzes and tests, as well as reading assignments and videos to watch. I'll post video lectures for you to watch on each of the topics, each section, and you will also have lecture notes that are from the PowerPoint slides that I use in those lectures. I will post those PowerPoint slides as PDFs. Those will be really helpful in tests and quizzes. So how do you access Canvas? Go to University of Montana online. You can also just Google University of Montana Canvas. It'll ask you to log in using your NetID through the University of Montana online process. And then once you're in there, you'll see our class, and you can start to click through things, download the syllabus, start to get familiar with Canvas. So our class focus is the Native Americans of Yellowstone. We'll talk about things like, is Yellowstone really a natural wilderness? And what I mean by that is a wilderness is defined as a landscape that is void of people in the past and the present. So places like the Absaroka Wilderness, the Beartooth Wilderness, just north of Missoula here, we have the Rattlesnake Wilderness. By definition, those are wildernesses, and if you take that definition rote, you would assume that people have never lived here, but that's not true. We know that people have been living in Yellowstone and all across Montana and Wyoming and Idaho and the Rocky Mountains for at least 11,000 years, and so this class talks about that and how we can think about Yellowstone as a wilderness or not. We'll also talk about when Native Americans arrived to Yellowstone. That's a really important topic for the class. We'll talk about what travel routes they took, things like that, to get to places like Yellowstone and the rest of Montana. We'll talk about where they came from, where they preferred to live in places like Yellowstone National Park, how they survived. They were, of course, hunter-gatherer peoples who lived off the land. They hunted for their animals for their food, and they collected plants and things like that. And then what is the role of archaeology in understanding the past of Native Americans? So especially in this first section, section 1, the background section, I'll talk about the role of archaeology, and then over the rest of the course, all of the things that I'll present to you about Native American history in Yellowstone is based on our research in Yellowstone, as well as other archaeologists that have worked there. So that's the wrap up of this first just introductory lecture, hopefully getting you a little bit used to how the class is going to be oriented. The first section 1 background, go to the module which is on section 1, what is Yellowstone archaeology? That'll provide you with information about Yellowstone's geography, geology, environment, flora, fauna, as well as those archaeology terms and concepts. We'll have section lectures that'll cover that background material. You can review the lecture notes that I'll be providing as PDFs as well as watch the video lectures. Read Chapter 1 of Before Yellowstone, as well as the Introduction to the American Indians and Yellowstone National Park books. Those are both posted for you free as PDFs. Also watch the National Geographic video on Yellowstone. Take quiz 1, which is associated with that video, and then at the end of section 1, in 3 weeks, at the end of section 1, you will have a test due. That is your first 50-point test. If you have questions about anything, feel free to email me at douglas.macdonald@umontana.edu. You can also call me on my office phone at 5809. That's campus 243-5809. Email is going to be the best way for you to get a hold of me, and I look forward to getting to know you in this online class, as well as moving forward. Thank you.